In November 2025, one of the oldest legal institutions in the US, in fact it's over 100 years old, started letting AI hear cases and draft decisions. Not mock trials, not simulations, real disputes, real money, and real outcomes. And almost nobody noticed. The American Arbitration Association, who are basically the gold standard for resolving construction disputes in the US, launched what they're calling an AI arbitrator. And the way it works is genuinely fascinating. But it also raises an obvious question. Where does the AI end and where does the human begin? Typically, construction disputes are an absolute mess and they are one of the hardest types of legal cases to resolve. I spoke to Michael Vardaro about this. He's a construction attorney based in New York and has been doing this for over 30 years. His entire firm does nothing but construction law. And he told me something that I think perfectly captures the problem.
You've had a team, on a massive project. They may have spent the last 3 or 4 years of their life working on this. An attorney comes in, we're involved for 3 days, and someone wants our opinion as, well, how good is our case?
Think about that. $500 million in claims. Thousands of emails, drawings, daily reports, RFIs, text messages, you name it. People who have worked on the project had left and everyone remembers it differently. And a lawyer has to walk in and somehow figure out what the hell actually happened. Now multiply that across the entire construction industry. That's the world construction litigation operates in. Too much data, too many people, too many parties, too much money at stake, and everything takes forever. So what if you could compress that entire process? So here's what the AAA, the American Arbitration Association, actually built. And I want to walk through it step by step because the nuance matters. Firstly, this only applies to smaller cases, 2 parties with documents only, no live witnesses, and no oral arguments. So we're not talking about massive multi-party trials here, not yet anyway. Step 1, both parties independently submit their case to the AI. Their claim, their evidence, their arguments, everything goes in. In step 2, the AI, and this is the first 2 separate AI agents, takes all of that and produces a summary. It basically says, here's what I think you've told me, and here's where it gets pretty clever. In step 3, the parties get to push back. They can go back and say, no, you've misunderstood this point, or you've missed something critical here. They get a chance to correct the AI before anything else happens.
Parties always want to know that they are being heard. And I think this step is a very important one.
That's a really smart design choice because the number 1 complaint people have in any legal process is that nobody listened to them. In step 4, a second AI agent, a different one from the first, takes everything, the facts, the arguments, and the corrections, and it drafts a decision. And this isn't just guessing, it's been trained on over 1,500 real AAA decisions and prior cases. In step 5, and this is the absolutely critical part, that draft decision goes to a human arbitrator, a real person. They review the submissions, the AI summary, and the draft award, and they decide, is this right or does something need changing? The human issues the final decision, not the AI.
It's not an AI agent that is making a decision. What we're doing is we're employing a process to get the parties to a decision in a much quicker fashion.
So the AI isn't the judge. The AI is compressing months of back and forth into days, and the human still holds the gavel. And that's a really important distinction. But there is always a but, and this only works if the AI actually understands what it's reading. And apparently we're not quite there yet. Michael told me a story that stuck with me. A company was negotiating a construction contract. They used ChatGPT to redline it. Redline is basically where you mark up the changes that you want.
What we found out was that the individual had used ChatGPT to provide the redline. And so while the redline looked really good and it had wording that you would typically see and you would think it came from a lawyer, the problem in this instance was that it was going against their own position.
And they literally argued against themselves. The language looked professional. It read like a lawyer wrote it, but it was backwards. And that's the thing with AI right now. It's very book smart. It can produce something that looks and sounds right, but it doesn't have judgment. It doesn't know what you need in your specific situation. which is exactly why the AAA put a human in the end of the process. That was the whole point. Now here is where my head goes with this. Right now this is limited to small two-party document only cases. That's fine, we're still in the early days, but AI is obviously rapidly expanding. Michael also made a point that I think is a real unlock. On the big projects where they have maybe airports, hospitals, massive infrastructure disputes happen all the time during construction. Equipment is late, costs are blowing out, nobody wants to fund the overrun, and the whole project stalls.
Everyone makes a submission, we get a decision, which is basically a temporary decision. How is that going to be funded? We move forward.
Imagine, instead of a project grinding to a halt for months while lawyers argue, you get a quick interim decision, AI assisted and human improved, and the project keeps moving. Damages get minimized and the full legal fight can happen later. That's a very logical next step from what the AAA just introduced. A 100-year-old institution just made its most radical bet, and whether you think it's brilliant or whether you think it's terrifying, it's happening. I'll be keen to see how this one plays out.